It's Hong Kong International Week, so the perfect time to launch into Hong Kong horse racing, courtesy of Hutchi's Honkers. With Hutchi, the Hall of Famer, and the host, I'm Jason Richardson. Hutchi's 20 years as just being a guru of all things form in Hong Kong, and Shane Dye's in Australian racing and New Zealand Racing Hall of Fame and one day World Horse Racing Hall of Fame. I'll start with you, Hutch. Welcome to International Week.
Yes, welcome along. We had a great midweek from a viewing perspective, didn't we, with all the jocks and Zach Purton taking out, of course, the IJC. But as far as the Hutchi's Honkers concerned, good weekend last weekend. Wednesday was tough. Let's just put it that way.
It was tough. There were some hard knocks. There were some hard beats. We're better to put it aside, but all I know is as a supporter, I made a profit Sunday. I gave a little back on Wednesday. Only a little.
We're gonna get it back this weekend.
Times two, because traditionally this Sunday is your special meeting. This is when I'm actually finally proud to be your mate. I tell everyone about you.
I'm glad it happens once a year.
Once a year, my friend. Whereas always bragging about my friendship with Shane Dye. Shane, I've got a jockey's hat on, Ty Anglin, in honour of you, mate. I know you don't want to see my beautiful bald head. I've got a whole array of hats for you today. Hello.
Hi, mate. And I'll tell you what I've done for you too, Richo. Last week you had to go off camera about my John Lennon glasses. So I went to the shop and there was 4 girls and I said, girls, I need a good pair of glasses because this superstar TV personality is knocking me. So they picked me out that pair.
Yeah.
And they said, that's it. He can't knock you now. So you happy with that, Richo?
Mate, you look good enough to eat, brother.
He's definitely found 2 links, hasn't he? Yeah,
Has he? What?
Yeah, they look good.
Listen, I said, they started bringing them out. I'm looking. I said, I don't care. They all do the same. You read. I said, this is just to impress Richo, no one else. I said, I don't care what I've got on.
Hey, talking of impressing, with this Group 1 racing, Richo, as well. Group 1 racing on the weekend. Now, we've had some fantastic calls of the Group 1s in Hong Kong over the years. I just want to listen to a couple of the callers are in the zone. It's Group 1 racing. Let's have a listen to a couple of beauties from Australia from the last few years.
Hitotsu and Pagazi. It's Enfar at the 200 metres from General Bow. Finance Tycoon ingratiating running on. Enfar has a fight. General Bow coming out of Finance Tycoon ingratiating. And Artorias is flying at the 50. Artorias pounces, bonks them and wins. Artorias from ingratiating. Photo third.
Stride for stride, fell swoop, Russian Revolution. English comes off heels and the mare is starting to let down. English goes after fell swoop. Russian Revolution's running his race further back to Voodoo Lad. It's English and fell swoop fighting it out. Chautauqua very late. It's English a half length in front. Can he do it? Chautauqua, he's flying. Yes, there's history. Chautauqua makes it 3 in a row.
How good is that?
That is unbelievable. He got up to beat English and fell swoop.
Just harking back, Richo, while we've got a moment. Last weekend there was benchmark 72. The audio went, and let's hear from something pretty special from Jason Richardson, who steps into the caller's box.
Up behind them, James McDonald's giving him every possible chance. And the son of So You Think is looming up on the outside of Seduction Queen. Seduction Queen, Karlstad's rallying. Here's the favourite, Russo. Looms up on the outside for Chris Waller. And Waller and McDonald look in control here. Or can one come late? It is the ruffian PK's Legacy storming down the outside at a big price. And a boil over. It'll be PK's Legacy, which will knock off Russo.
Well done.
Right
How
on the
about
line
that?
in race number 6 at Rose Hill.
Impromptu called. Shane, what did you think of that? That was brilliant.
From the moment I've come on this show, what's the one thing I've said to you? You can do anything. And that just proves it. It doesn't matter. You know, I'm surprised he's not on 60 Minutes as a host yet. It's only a matter of time. There's nothing he can't do this man.
Stand by. Might be next week. Now, Richo, you also tipped the winner, I'm told.
Well, that was the worst thing. It was $17, and I do on Channel 7, I do the Richo's Ruffy for every race. And there was about 4 horses under $10, and then the rest of them, and he was the best of those. And just at the tip of my tongue, I thought, hang on, I might make this all about myself. But I decided not to.
Good job. That's
brilliant.
great.
Yeah, it was average. It was really average, and thank God they just sprung it on me, because if I had it prepared, I would have even been worse. But anyway, we move on to a debrief quickly about we know we're going to launch into Sunday. We've got so much to come today. So we've got our racing takeaway. Of course, what did you make of Wednesday's meeting? We'll get to that straight away. Hey, Damian Lane's going to join us, and that's going to be fantastic. So he's there representing Australia. He's got a great association with the Japanese. The one and only Ryan Moore, arguably the best jockey in the world, will join us as well. We've got Genius or Slaughter. We like to call it Ocky or Veandercross. So there's so much to get stuck into. Plus, we will preview all 4 of the Group 1s and find the winners.
Fairbow, they're all driving after Circuit 7. Awesome treasure for Tom Marquand. Viva Hunter, Glorious Lover, throwing everything at by Purton on the outside. He's firing through like a torpedo after Amazing 1+, McDonald and Purton. Gem, Elon and Hong Kong bid, a 3-way thriller, and Elon, I think, got up.
What did we make of Wednesday night? Zach, too good in the International and the Jockeys Challenge. Didn't win a race, won the challenge.
It's interesting, yeah. His consistency paid off. He deserved it. He rode them well. He had good barriers, which made a big difference. I think that's where a few struggled from the wider barriers, but he deserved it. That's his 3rd one now. He equals Douglas White and Frankie Dettori, and he was pretty happy with himself afterwards as well, by the sound. Listening to his post-race interview, he said they might have to change the rules again, otherwise he'll keep winning.
Oh, if you don't mind, Shane, what did you make of the International Jockey Challenge?
Well, you got 4 different horses that won, jockeys that won. They never scored another point. You had Zach, who had 4 placings, I think. So it was a very even concept. Zach won because of the barrier draws. I actually thought, and Clint might agree, he may not, Damian Lane had the best rides by a long way, but he had bad gates. And he just never got in most races, and that affected his horses. A couple ran all right. But no, he rode well. He was consistent. He had them on the fence or one off, and that just helped.
I reckon actually in the first race, Zach rode a horse, and you'll know his name, an outsider. He's took him to the lead. He led by 5. He hung on to run 3rd, just beaten in a photo for 2nd and 3rd.
Yes, 7.
Yeah, that in effect won him the championship by being bold out in front, because then he had his better rides, which he got he got 2nd on. That in effect won him.
You can never go too fast on one of Tony Cruz's either.
Yeah,
he's happy to lead. And
so, but in all fairness, it did have a chance. I think it was 3rd or 4th favourite in the race. Yeah, I had it priced 3rd favourite. It always had a chance. But it looked the winner at the furlong for sure, but the last bit it walked.
Okay, zip back to last Sunday. What did we get out of the meeting? You made a nice profit on Hutchi's Honkers. What did you make of Sunday?
There was a nice performance. So the first half of the card was tough to watch, that's for sure. It was a sort of a lot of seconds. And
even Joe Moreira's debutant that he tipped us into was bold, went to the front, just got caught.
I thought he rated him really well. It was just beaten by a better one on the day. It was a bit like that with Pins Prince, who was probably close enough to genuine speed, and then it set up nicely for Millennium Falcon. So that was, I think he had his chance, Pins Prince. He was just beaten by a better one on the day, the way the race was run. I mean, the horses that were around him finished last, second last, and third last, and he's been just touched off. So, yeah, a lot of plays early in the day that were, I think, good, but we saw some great wins later on the card, and we had a big bias on the dirt, didn't we? So a couple of them were favoured by that. That said, Sight Success is a horse that is going to be winning more races. I could have actually made that one to really follow, and I thought the final race, Beauty Joy, was pretty good too. So it was a nice way to finish the card because we came home strong. We threw the Spinnaker out, and unfortunately, we had a bit of win there.
Thank God for Beauty Joy. Shane, did you make a profit on Sunday?
I had a big day. I wouldn't tip anything I don't believe in on the show. And last week I said Elite Patch could win race 9. I really liked it. But come race day, that changed because the jockey who was riding it on Friday got hurt, so he couldn't have £3. And as Clint said, there was a huge bias with leaders. And I didn't think Infinite Power would run 16.50 or could win, but they were betting $12 in Aussie early in the day. And as soon as it was a leader's track and I knew it was a bias, I had a decent bet on him, and he led and he won. So it was good. I think he started $5. So that was good. I had a good day Sunday, had a good day Wednesday night. I bet up on Fearless Fire in race 2. That was my main bet for the night. He was always going to get a soft lead. Blake rated him well, and he won by a lot. He was 7s into 4s, I think.
For our podcast, what we might do in the future, we might have push red for uncensored and we might showcase our WhatsApp group because I'm very much enjoying the banter between the two of you critiquing the various jockey performances.
Yeah, well, there's plenty to critique, that's for sure.
I did text you, Richo, that it was the wrong price, Infinite Power.
I know you did.
I don't think it'll win, but you just got to back it. It's going to lead. And they're betting $12 in Australia. So that was before the race. It wasn't after the race.
And then you steered me into also, there was one with the name Pakistan in it at around $31.
I had a good bet on that too. It was 41 and 10. It was way overs. And it ran third paid. I think in Aussie, they were betting $10 a place, which was a joke. I think it paid $6. Did you have something on that, Richo?
I did have something each way. I'm not normally an each way punter, but at $41, I thought, you never know. I'll just have a luck test to follow RS in like I used to when he used to whip around them on the mighty octagonal, if you don't mind. Hey, Hutch, also, you were keen to talk about Invincible Missile, the ride of James McDonald on Wednesday night. Can we go fast forward there?
Yeah, well, it was a terrific ride from James, wasn't it? Invincible Missile is a little bit sort of one-dimensional in terms of how he's got to be ridden, but I thought he rode the valley really well, stayed back towards the inside, and as we can see here, he drew that middle gate, not a lot of early speed, and he just sort of goes back to the inside, and I thought this was he's pretty much done in this race what Shane's been commenting on quite a lot in terms of, you bide your time, wait for the runs, and I thought he did a really great job here, James, and we saw him at his best. I thought one of the other rides of the night, he was sort of posted, probably should have, pressed on a little bit more, but I thought he got this one. He got this one really right. What do you think, Shane?
Gave it a great ride. He was always going to be there. He couldn't be anywhere else because there was pace in the race. There was a lot of pace in this race, and there was always going to be pre-post. And he just got back, never travelled at the rock. He hit it, got it back on the bit, and then he was flat, and he just saved ground and showed a lot of strength and vigor, and the horse just got up and won. It was a perfect ride. If he goes around them, he can't win. And as you're right, Clint, and what you're saying, I get sick of jockeys that are coming off the fence at the 600, 700 and trying to scout them 6, 5, 4 wide. Wait for a run. You may not win every time, but you'll win more races doing that than going around them. You've seen that, Richo, since I've been telling you. I remember the first comment you said to me on the first show. You said you would rather see a jockey take chance out of it and go around them and save ground. Well, since that show, have you seen how many do that and get beat, but how many save ground and win?
No, absolutely. And Happy Valley more than any. For me, for the untrained eye when I'm watching it, that looks an unbelievable hook turn. How severe is it, Shane?
Oh, really severe. You got to pull them back in. If you don't, they'll shoot out two horses. And we all know Joe's changed since the show 3 weeks ago, and I brought it up. He's riding Happy Valley different. He's actually pulling them around now, whereas he used to lose a length every race he rode at the turn. He hasn't done that the last 3 weeks. He's gone a double, a treble, a double. His ride on Touch Faith, he showed patience. He stuck to the rail. He's got a conviction now of staying in and hooking the rail. His conviction before was going wide, letting them run off. And he'll just keep riding winners now at Happy Valley.
That said, I would have loved Zach on Leap of Faith. I know you've backed Fearless Fire because he was going to get a soft lead. Thought there was one that did miss the start in that race, unfortunately, that took a bit of more pace out of the race. But I would have loved to have seen him make a move. They just went too slow. And when they're going that slow, you've got to kind of press the button. He's run home, I think, about a second faster than anything in the race. He's got within half a length, which he shouldn't have been able to do. I thought in that race, there are circumstances when you go, well, you know what, I've got to go now, because you just can't win from that far back when they've gone that slow. So it depends a little bit, I think, Shane, in fairness to how the race is run.
I totally agree. You're right. And I was laughing myself down the back because I was expecting something to go. And I was saying, don't go, anyone, because Blake was actually going too slow on the horse. Yeah. And when you go too slow on a horse, you give the opportunity to the back markers to take off down the back, because even though you might be 4, 5, 6 wide, when you're in the back, you're not covering any extra ground. You're going in a straight line. So it's the same as being on the fence. So if you're back and you go up and around down the back and you get in before the bend, you haven't covered any ground, right? But nothing took off. But you're right. Sometimes you got to do that. And I was just glad he got left alone and he kicked it. He increased the pace at the 600, and by then it was too late for any other horse. The race was over, as you know.
You touched on Touch Faith and the rider Marrera RS. Take us through what you liked about this performance.
Well, this horse could have gone forward out of the gates. You'll see him, and he gives that up, which you got to do. The thing is, he's gone back. You got to these wide gates at Valley, unless you know you can clear them. You just got to go back. You can't come out and sit fourth or fifth. You'll be 4 wide. And I get sick of trainers saying, try to go forward. He's gone back. He's 3 wide, but he elects to go back to the fence. He cuts the corner. He was going to come off at the 600 and then elected to stay in. There's no way in the world that horse wins if he goes around them. It was a great ride. This is when you're getting back. You ride Happy Valley. You ride it for luck. Now, you're not going to get it every time, but I'll tell you what, they swing wide on that track and you're going to get it more times than you realize. And it was a 10 out of 10 ride.
I just sense there's a little birdie on the shoulder of Joe Marrera at the moment. Every time he goes to go wide, he thinks of RS and goes, actually, patient, duck back on the inside. How often are we seeing it in the last 3 weeks?
Well, a lot from Joe. So he's definitely
Which we weren't seeing.
Well, and Shane was right what he said a couple of weeks ago. He used to do it a lot more. But, sometimes you just tinker your game. And
you need a little reminder.
Little reminder.
Hey, what we also do on this podcast, and for anyone who's listening that would like to send in the way that they give one a cheer home, Shane, we've got to share a bit about ourselves. And I'd love to know from you, when you're sitting in the penthouse and you've got the leader who's about to kick home and you've had a good bet in race 2 on a Wednesday night, how are you cheering them home? How are you celebrating? I get the great opportunity to sit with the Hutch Buster, who either does this when his horse is leading, go on, off you go, or that to kick him home. What are you doing, RS?
Sometimes I'll stand up. Go, you good thing, go. But normally I'm concentrating on what's happening,
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not one. I can understand. I could see him going, "Go on, you."
Hey,
good thing.
you're talking about roaring one home, Shane. We've had Ollie in these COVID times.
Oh yeah.
Did you used to yell and scream at the horses when you were late in the race? Were you a screamer?
Sometimes you could be. When you're desperate, you could be. Not all the time, but I don't think people quite realise how much jockeys can talk during a race. We talk quite a bit, when you go to push out, you'll swear at the bloke, get back in there, and you'll push him back in. Or, if the bloke's in front and you're second and you want it to go quicker, mate, go a bit faster, right? But you do talk during the race. And if someone knocks you down, well, I won't repeat what you say. You just swear. So, no, you do talk during the race. You do scream at them. And we've picked that up with Ollie on the videos now. But not all the time, me, but sometimes definitely. Well, if you're going to win by 4 lengths, why would you be screaming? You don't.
I love this. We're sharing a lot of ourselves, but we don't really need to know everything personal, whether or not Shane's a screamer or not. All right, let's add some star power to this podcast. And we're heading straight over to Hong Kong. Australian jockey superstar. He's got a great association with the Japanese horses. Joins us on the line. He's affectionately known as Frosty because he's ice cool. His name is Damian Lane. You've got us loud and clear, Frost?
Yeah, we've got you.
Ah, beautiful, mate. I tell you what I'm going to do, just to show how much I love you, as much as I love Ty Anglin, I'm just going to get rid of Ty's hat.
Shit, I need my glasses.
I'm all about you, mate, for the international meeting. I got my Japan hat on. That's what we're barracking for, aren't we, Frost?
Very good, yeah.
So, Salios. Can Salios win the Hong Kong Mile?
Yep. Yeah, you can.
Is that all you... Well, hang on. Is he working well? Are you going to give us any more than that?
No, he's going well. He's got here in good order. He brings some good form lines, obviously, through Grand Alegria. He's probably got taken some improvement out of that run, which he probably needed to. The blinkers come off, which is a good positive sign. He just went a bit keen and didn't finish off in the blinkers at his last start. So happy with that gear change.
Damien, what's the stable happy with the way he's arrived and settled into Hong Kong during the week? I mean, obviously it's not a long trip, but some take it better than others.
Yeah, he's settled in well. Richo Hori, the trainer, said that he's probably not like settled in 100% early in the week, just with his first time traveling out of Japan. But he's on the improve now, and he's coming together well towards the end of the week, and that's what they're hoping for.
2,000 guineas, he was runner-up to Contrail. Japan Derby, he was runner-up to Contrail as well. That was 2,000, 2,400 metres. At the mile, is this his right trip?
Yeah, I think so. I've always thought he was a mile to 2,000 metre horse. They pressed him to the Derby early because basically he was going well at the time. Northern Farm didn't really have another horse that could have possibly beaten Contrail. He was the only one that could, so they pressed him to the 2,400 metres, and I don't think he ran it out that day. He travelled in the race really well, got within a couple of lengths of Contrail, and unfortunately just couldn't finish it off. But I think 1,600 to 2,000 is his best distance range.
Damian, I think the biggest thing in this race is the pace. There looks none on paper. What do you think from gate one you'll do on him?
I'll be positive. He begins well, so I'll be positive, and I'll have no set instructions from the trainer. He generally leaves it to me, and this horse is so versatile. I'll just ride him on how the race unfolds, but I'd expect to be in the first few.
And Damian, just looking at the form with him and the other Japanese runners, how do you think they'll fare against Golden 60? You obviously know them pretty well, and a couple of them have got good chances. You'd imagine if they can bring their best Indy champ, certainly one that had excuses.
Yeah, I think they can give him a good challenge. He's obviously going to be awfully hard to beat. Is he going to get the right run from barrier 2? He's going to be, he's going to need some luck at some stage, Golden 60, with his racing pattern. So I think if anyone can beat him, it'll be the Japanese. They got a strong lineup, obviously, this year in the mile especially. So I think they can challenge him. Yes.
I mean, they wouldn't have run in races as slow as he's been running, and that's for sure. So may well be that they can control the tempo that Shane mentioned. I think it's quite interesting, Shane, in this race. You mentioned the pace, and what Vincent does on Golden 60 is intriguing here, because I don't think he gets as far back. I know you're very much in the mold of ride him in a certain way, but I feel that from that barrier, Shane, he's the key thing for him is he's just going to want a bit of cover so the horse can relax. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was 1-1 or even 3 back, 1 off. He won't push him early, but I just think he'll naturally be a lot closer.
Okay, Clint, last start, first up, he had gate 9. He had to go back. Tomorrow's a different type of race. From the gate 2, he's going to race a lot closer. You're totally correct. He'll come out of the gates. He can be running 4th on the bit. He doesn't have to go back, right? But you don't push him to be 4th, but there's just no pace in this race. So he's going to lob there. I think he'll race a lot closer than people realise tomorrow, and there's nothing wrong with that tomorrow. Nothing at all.
It's interesting, is it? If we look at the field and you look at the market, and with whatever betting provider you're playing with, they'll be roughly the same. So we look at the market: Golden 60 at $1.55, Danon Kingley at $5, $11 or 11 to 1, Indy Champ and Waikuku, and 15 in Salius. So Hutch, the question: do you jump in at 155 with Golden 60?
Oh, he's short. I'll have him odds on. I don't think I'll get him quite that short, but I just think he settles a lot closer. I think there'll be more tempo. I mean, obviously Damian's going to ride the race he wants to from there, but I see more pressure. But I think he's going to be well suited by that, and he won't be giving away starts. So he's got to be very hard to beat. You can't run the sectionals. He can. Won the race last year. He's proven against some internationals as well. And look, what could bring him undone is if he gets locked away and what happens during the race. But you can't be sort of predicting that. And look, I think he's got a test. I mean, there's serious Japanese runners in the race that we've seen how they profile. So it won't be easy for him, but they've got to ride their race too.
I'm not taking no chance. I'm backing him at odds on. I'll be Team Japan.
Richo, last time I said on thingy they were betting $1.50, and that was way overs. He should have been $1.20. I said that on the show before the race. This week I think he's $1.45 or something. I wouldn't be backing him at $1.45. It's not the right price. He should be more, even though I think he'll win, and he should win easy. He's got an unusual gate where they could lock him away and he could not get out. Also the pace of the race, and also last start, you've got to remember he was only racing against Hong Kong horses. So we all knew what he could do. Now you're bringing in 3 or 4 Japanese horses. You're just not quite sure on how good they are. So there's another query to it. So I wouldn't take the $1.40 this week. That's my opinion, but I think he'll win. I've got no doubt he can win, and he's the horse they've all got to beat.
Well, Frosty, the Yasuda Kinnan, 1,600 metres is a serious race. That's what Danon Kingley won, and he defeated Gran Allegria. Surely that is good enough form to test Golden 60.
Yeah, exactly right. He's a serious horse, Danon Kingley, and I think he's going to give it a real shake. And I think my bloke's up there with that sort of form. I think he's probably the last 2-3 runs haven't represented his best form. He raced in the Osaka High earlier in the year over 2,000 on a heavy track, and he just, I think that flattened him. He never turned up in the Yasuda Kinnan, and then last start was just a prep run for this. So I'm taking a line through Danon Kingley being, some of the best mile form in the world around knocking off Grand Allegria in the Yasuda Kinnan, and I don't think my bloke's too far from him. So, yeah, I think they're going to throw a decent challenge.
Well, that's my betting strategy. 2 units on Danon Kingley, 1 unit on Salios and Cheer, the mighty Japanese.
I think they'll have to come in the market in Hong Kong anyway. I mean, I'm not sure what price Golden 60 will start, but I would imagine there'll be plenty of people out there that are happy to back the Japanese runners if they look like they're going to be silly odds.
Well, absolutely. Hey, Frost, I know you pushed for time, mate. You've got a ride on Butterfield in one of the other Group 1s, but also in the Hong Kong Sprint, you are riding Computer Patch. Now, Pixie Knight is the $2.45 favourite, a Japanese sprinter. Can Computer Patch win, and how good is Pixie Knight?
Pixie Knight's a great young talent who won really well Sprinter Stakes there last start. Obviously, Hong Kong's going to be a big test for him, having to travel, probably having to race some different quality of horse here in Hong Kong. Computer Patch has obviously been consistent for a long time now. He ran 4th in the lead-up sprint the other day, so he's shown he can be competitive, and he's probably a length or 2 off those really good ones. But with the right run, he can run in the money.
Hey, Frost, good luck here, because what we tend to do, we get a special guest on, and you get a jockey lesson from Shane Dye. He's going to tell you how you can win on Computer Patch. RS, take over.
I actually can't. He's going to need He's going to need more than me telling you how to win on him, mate. I think that's going to actually help. Now, he'll probably lead in the race. He's got a good gait. He'll get there, and it's a matter of just trying to hold him up a bit, What about the other Japanese horse, the bottom one, Clint?
Resistencia.
Resistio. How do you rate it, Damian? Because its form's not too bad, even though it's behind Pixie Knight. How do you rate that?
Yeah, she's shown she's a class horse as well. To me, she's probably shown her best at a mile. So the other horse probably profiles a little bit better. He's on the way up, and there's probably a bit more of a wraparound for him at this stage.
It's interesting because Pixie Knight, he won a Group 1 over 1,600 metres. So here we are, tried as a sprinter. Who wins the race?
I find between the two Japanese runners, the markets, there's too much of a difference between the two. I mean, when you look at what they've SP'd last time, Resistencia has been shorter. I think that she beat, of course, Pixie Knight. Pixie Knight, for me, in the main or the most recent lead up, had a gun run. It all fell into place. I don't think it necessarily will there on the weekend. I think the fact that Resistencia is drawn a touch better, literally one underneath, can hold a sort of dictating role in a sense. And look, the last 10 years, there's been 4 overseas winners, 3 of them from Japan, 2 are Lord Canelo. But outside Lord Canelo, they've brought a lot over, and they haven't quite been up to it. Now, I'd say that last year, of course, we had a winner with the one that we know that won well last year, but that was such an ordinary race. I mean, the horses that finished 2nd through 5th, the likes of Wishful Thinker, Jolly Banner, I mean, there's more depth from the Hong Kong ranks this year. That they were atrocious. It was an awful set of gallopers in that field. So, look, Danon Smash won that, but I don't know. I've still got my queries with some of the Japanese sprinters, I think. I mean, Lord Canelo was the outlier. He was the outlier. But these ones, I'm not so sure. And of the 2 Japanese that make appeal for me, I think Resistencia.
Okay, at around $5.50. Hey, Frost, how are you enjoying the week? It's, suppose, a little different for you, not as social maybe as it has in the past?
Yeah, a little different to what we're used to, Hong Kong International Week, but it's been a good week. Apart from a horror Wednesday night, we've been looked after, and obviously the Jockey Club have done a great effort to get us here, and yeah, looking forward to Sunday.
What do you think is the big difference between riding in Hong Kong and riding in Australia? In races, not outside, but in races.
I guess you definitely have to be sharper here. Yeah, I guess both courses, Happy Valley especially, you probably want to be close to the speed, so you've got to be sharp early. You don't get much favours in the run here in terms of in Australia. I guess if you're a length and a half clear of someone, they'll generally come back to let you, not come back to let you in, but let you slot in. Yeah. Whereas here, there's always someone kicking up inside you, whether you nearly crossed them. There's always jockeys riding their horses out of their comfort zone, so it's harder to cross them. It's just, I guess that early part of the race is the main difference to me, and jockeys always pushing to hold their spots even when they shouldn't be. So it's more difficult to slot in.
See, I was talking to James after the races on Wednesday, and he said, "Shane, I can't believe how hard it is riding here compared to Australia." You know, he said, "I thought I was crossing in some races, and next minute they were inside me. I couldn't cross them. They were going so fast in races." And he says it is just 10 times harder riding in Hong Kong than in Australia. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's definitely more difficult, but Happy Valley especially. I mean, because of the circumference of the track, you're always going to have people wanting to hold the rail, wanting to get up inside you. So, I mean, Happy Valley especially, Sha Tin's obviously a completely different track, but I have found over my time riding here and back in Australia, it is a little more difficult riding here, yes.
Well, Shane's broken down the tax implications of riding over there, and the prize money, by the sound of it, is very lucrative. You're about to get married. You're going to have a beautiful wife that's got some expectations. Any chance you'll be making your way over to Hong Kong to make a bit of these ones, mate? Bit of fabulous?
Never say never, but I think Japan's probably ruined a short-term license in Hong Kong for me with the cattle of horse I get on over there, and how well I got looked after there.
Oh, okay. So that might be a watch this space. Hey, mate, thanks so much for your time. Good luck over the weekend. We'll be cheering you on.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Good to chat.
Cheers.
Fantastic. The one and only Damian Lane. So Frosty's look on a couple of the Group 1s. We'll go back and give you full selections for all of the Group 1s. But first, let's get into a segment which I know everyone's loving now around the globe, Genius or Slaughter.
Sweep for home now. Gatherno on the inside. Veandercross has come very wide after him. Veandercross in front of Mannerism. Veandercross answering the urgings of Shane Dyer head in front. Mannerism coming at him. Veandercross looked to have the race won 100 metres from home. Mannerism has got it. Number 8, Mannerism has got it.
Otherwise known as Ocky or Veandercross. Shane, let's start with the Ocky, the Genius. What was the Genius ride in the last week?
Infinite power. People don't even realise how good a ride this was. It was an amazing ride.
Matthew Poon.
If you have a look here, he's not a 1650. He gets across and he hasn't forced him too much. He had to lead. The dirt was off. It was just a huge leaders track. Leaders had 3-4 lengths on every other horse this day. Now, the thing with this horse was you had to rate him, and there was good pace in the race outside of him. There's a couple that could have led. The hardest thing to do in a race is lead and rate them. Now, down the back, if you go too slow, the rest are going to take off. If you go too fast, well, then he's going to stop, because I didn't think he'd run 1650 and he'd only run 1400. Now, if you have a look down the back, he's run a 23.36, a 23.36. Now, in the straight, this actually helps him. You might want to stop the film up here soon. You'll see his ears back here. Now, coming up here, you may not know this, but there's on the track, the people walk around and the starting gates go on and off. So it leaves a mark on the track. Now, if you watch up here, you'll see his ears go back and then forward, and he shies at it. And he kind of stumbles a bit. There, he pricks his ears, he gets off balance, and he gets another wind because he's been distracted. And that ride is better than people realise. That's the best ride of the week by a long way, as far as I'm concerned. He rated it so well. Matthew Poon, very good ride.
He gets the Ocky. Who gets the big V? Who gets the Veandercross?
Well, once again, last week, same thing. I thought it wasn't actually Rowan, what's his name, Clint? Sorry.
Ruin Meyer.
He got told to ride it this way. He went into the stewards, and in the stewards report, he said, look, they wanted cover on it. Now, if you have a look at the video, he draws, there's only one horse that can lead here, and that's Tycoon. He's drawn outside it in the pink and purple. All he had to do was follow him across, and he wins the race for sure. But because he had been told, he hasn't been jumping well, get cover on him, he tries to get back in. Now, he wouldn't have known it was a leader's track because it's the first race, but it turned out like that. There was no pace in the race. Nothing could go, only one horse. Why not come across and follow, sit outside the leader? Now, you see he's 3 wide here without cover. The winner is the second horse. He's pulling. He's gone up there. That horse cannot win the race if he goes forward because he would have been one back, one out. Now, he's gone back. He's got in around the side. The race is over. It's a leader's track. The 2 that have run 1, 2 and dominated the pace kicked, and he's got beat a length and a half. If he's outside the leader, he wins for sure. Tycoon is always suspect at 1,800. He's no good thing to run it, which he didn't hear. And he would have been where the winner is outside. It wins for sure. And it's trainer's error because he didn't want him to go forward. He wanted him to take a sit. But that horse wins for sure. Would you agree, Clint?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's you brought up an interesting point. You're 100% right, Shane. We often can be critical of riders, but sometimes they're given these instructions and some ignore them, don't they, Shane? But others,
I spoke to James after the races on Wednesday, and I said, James, when you couldn't clear them, why didn't you kick on? And his first thing he said, well, Dougie wanted me to take a sit running 3rd or 4th. And see, with me, that didn't enter my mind when I was riding. That went out the window as trainers because I did what was the best thing then, right?
That's they always say, there's no use buddy employing RS Dye and then telling him how to do it. Just leg you up.
I'll tell you something with John Sayers. I rode for him for 3 years and he never once gave me an instruction riding because I would go there and discuss it and everything, what would happen and what I would do and everything, right? And he understood. And that was how I rode. I'd go out there, give the reasons. Gay would sometimes, when I rode for her, say, I want it here, up here. And then if she gave me the right reasons why, well, I would follow her instructions. But if I had reasons why I shouldn't be, well, sometimes you got to put trainers' instructions during the race away, forget them, and ride the horse how you think.
Hutchi, what was your performance of the week?
I thought there was a really nice performance from a horse that profiled nicely from Perth, actually. He's Beauty Joy. Look, he's had a stable change. He trialled well leading to this. Zach gave him a lovely ride. Look, the race rated okay. He's going to need to improve. I think there's a couple of nice horses in behind. The Irishman was one, and look, Zach got away with Murder in front. But I just thought there was a bit of ease with this victory. Could have been easily sight success on the same day, but he's a horse that I think has taken that second prep in Hong Kong. He's improved of late. His trial was good. It was a facile victory, really, wasn't it? I mean, Zach's looking around there with 150 to go. I just think he's a horse, Shane, who's probably got a little bit more upside. He'll come out of that race well, and he's clearly going nicely.
Second horse is going places too. His Australian form was very, very good. He ran very well, the Irishman. He could be a Derby horse.
It was your performance of the week, RS?
Well, I don't do it like Clint. I'm just looking for a winner, not something that's going to go to Class 1. And I said to Joe last week, run good. He can win, Joe. He's going to get back now. Watch this for a run. This is on a leader's dirt last week. He's back second last. Joe gave him every chance. Nothing wrong with what he did going wide. No complaints. He's under the stick. This horse is a horse ready to win. He ran on really well when they weren't. The leader, another leader last week, kicked and won. You watch him get to the line. Now, his last 2 runs have been like this. So this horse is just a winner when the race is run to suit him and the track's okay, like the dirt's not favouring leaders. He's just a winner waiting to happen. And I'm sure Joe knows that and he'll be on him next start.
Run good. He's a future winner.
Yeah, and those two that Shane mentioned as well, of course, the Irishman and Beauty Joy, more so the Irishman, the Derby. We were talking last week about Fantastic Treasure on that, progression potentially to the Derby, and Shane asked a question. I just want to give a mention out to the Group 1 Goldmine stuff as well, www.group1goldmine.com. It's great breeding intelligence, and got to do some stats on that. And look, it's interesting with this galloper because it profiles really, really well for the mile. But on the dam side, there's actually, and this is all analytics, there's actually a good pedigree in terms of stamina. So I think there might be a good chance that the 2000 against the own age group, based on the pedigree, based on the analytics, that the 2000 will be okay. In terms of an optimum distance, it's looking like the mile.
Hong Kong Racing School. We love to learn a quick lesson. We push for time. So hey, guess what? We've got mail. We have mail. This podcast is just going gangbusters, RS, and they all want to talk to you, I can assure you. But they do say, Dear Hutchi. This is from Jason Hughes, and it's interesting. He wants to talk about what he doesn't understand is commingling, because he's saying, how much is actually invested on average each race in Hong Kong? As I'm confused because the STAB states very big pools, over 6 million win and place in between 4 to 6 million in Quinellas, and the same for duets. But looking at the current odds on the Hong Kong Jockey Club website, it only has total pools bet around 150 to 200K. I'm confused how STAB gets these big pools. The reason is because, and that was a new innovation, Hutch, about 2 or 3 years ago, where us Victorian and Super Tab punters can bet into the Hong Kong pools.
Yeah, exactly. So the win, place, Quinella and Tierce pools and duets we've mentioned. So those pools, not the first four or the old quartet, that's not commingled. The exacta isn't either, but those other pools are. So there's just a time lag as well. The New South Wales tab and the Super Tab, sometimes there's discrepancy in the prices because there's a time lag in terms of, it just showing that because a lot of money goes on late, obviously. So there's just that little bit of a time lag. The pools match up, and we're effectively through the tote betting into those markets.
Hey, you notice also that I've got the All-Star Mile cap on, because if Golden 60 wins, I want him to come to the All-Star Mile and show how bloody good he is. Hey, last quick question in regards to the school. Tell us about ownership. A lot of people are asking about ownership. How can we own horses to race in Hong Kong?
You can't own them.
We can't.
You have to be a member of the jockey club, and then you go, if you want to be an owner, once you've been a member for a period of time, you go into a ballot each year. No, they used to get, I haven't checked the last couple of years because I haven't been up there, but they used to get about 5,000 to 7,000 people put into a ballot that's done behind closed doors, and then there's, say, 300 horses per year around that figure that come into Hong Kong. Some are race, some are run race. It depends on which one you apply for. And so then you get the opportunity, but you have to be a member. Then you have to be lucky enough to get one in the ballot. And that's how it's all done. It's very, very difficult. Just to become a member of the Jockey Club, Richo, in Hong Kong, I think it's, well, Shane, you'd probably know more than me, but it'd be about $100,000 US now, wouldn't it? I think just to join the club or something around those lines.
Just to expand on what Clint's saying, Richo, in Hong Kong, you can only own 4 horses racing at any time. You cannot own any more. That's the most you can own. That's one. The only other way to get a horse outside what Clint said is if you have a horse racing there, you can retire him and replace him with an 85 permit. Now, an 85 permit is a Group 1 group horse. So they normally cost over $1 million to buy from Australia or New Zealand. And then you can replace him. But he's got to be rated 85, and there's a criteria for horses rated 80, which is listed race winners. You can replace horses with that. But otherwise, you go into a hat and you go into a ballot, as Clint said, and there's 300 a year, and they pick them out, and you can buy a horse for the 2 years' time.
Sounds very complicated.
So you won't be owning a horse in Hong Kong anytime soon, Richard?
I won't be, so I don't know why I put on my Magic Millions cap on, Shane, but because Magic Millions is on the Gold Coast, that's where you live.
The other thing people may be interested in is training fees are all the same. You do not pay the trainers training fees. You pay the Jockey Club trainers. You pay the Jockey Club the training fees. So nothing actually goes to a trainer. Whereas in Australia, everything goes to a trainer. Every trainer charges different amounts. In Hong Kong, it's a set fee. Then you might get other stuff on, as vitamins might cost more, but there's a set fee in Hong Kong, and it goes to the Hong Kong Jockey Club and not the trainer.
Well, let's add some more star power to our podcast. Arguably the best jockey in the world joins us. Always great to see him, whether it be in Australia or racing internationally all around the globe, and he makes his way to Hong Kong. He's on the defending champion Mogul in the Hong Kong Vase, one of many rides. Ryan Moore joins us now. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. How's your Hong Kong experience so far?
Well, I can tell you the truth if you want.
Please do.
We speak the truth there, Ryan.
3 days locked in. No, it's 4 days locked in a hotel room watching 24-hour news channels. So, yeah, not. It's not great. It's crap, ain't it? But there you go. That's how it is at the moment.
You could be watching the cricket. That could be
yeah, true. You reminded me of that yesterday. Yeah, absolutely. Has it got any worse this morning?
They were batting before. I think they were about 350 behind or something. I don't know. Not many. They just got to bat the next 3 days to survive it.
Let's hope the other tests are a bit more interesting.
As we record this, they're 1 for 32 England. You're 246 runs behind. And Ryan, did you notice that all of a sudden Shane's pretending he's Australian?
Yeah, what's happened
No
there?
longer a New Zealander.
I like winners.
Well, you see, our best player is a Kiwi, isn't he, Ben?
He's a ringing.
Absolutely.
He's not sound at the moment.
No, he broke down yesterday, Ryan.
Yeah. Which is a problem.
Hey, before we talk racing, can we talk about your talented son Toby? I believe he's talented in all areas of life. I'm hearing something about a backflip. Check this out. Did you teach him this?
Wow.
No, I definitely didn't teach him that. Or
Ryan.
he showed up there. That was when you were over, Shane, was it?
Yeah, that was when I was over there with you. I want to know why he's trying to be like Frankie Dettori and not more like you.
Well, he knows Frankie's the best jockey, so he's trying to be like him.
Very humble.
But if anyone don't know, he rides really well. What is he now? 14. Could be a star. I know it's early, but he could be.
He's 13, but he's the right size. But look, who knows?
Who knows? Is he riding in the pony races?
No. It's been complicated. You know, we've got 4 kids, and he does show jumping. It's not. He wouldn't be at a real high standard because I won't spend a fortune on a pony. But
you'd rather buy a tractor.
Yeah, we've got one of them.
I know. How's it going, the mower?
Yeah, awful.
Are you still riding it every day, mowing the lawn? Tractor?
No. The shoulders that now.
You got over that, eh? That didn't take long.
That was something to do during lockdown. But,
Ryan sent me a photo of this new lawnmower tractor, and he said, "Look at this. This is my new toy." And he was out mowing all the lawns.
Hey, Ryan, eventually Shane...
The last 2 years has been a struggle, so...
Yeah, people don't realise, Ryan, you can ride in 4 countries in 5 days. How has this affected you? Truly, I'm being serious now. Like, I think when I was there with you, you went on the Friday to America to ride. The Saturday you were riding America. Sunday you were riding in Germany, and then the Monday you had to be in Ireland or France somewhere. It was incredible. So how are you coping?
Well, it's made everything difficult. The bureaucracy involved now is, look, I understand the situation, but it's hard to I'm lucky I've got people that help me out a lot, and I get, I want to be riding everywhere. I'm fortunate to ride good horses, and obviously it's everyone's lives are difficult now, but it makes it harder. So it would be great to get back to normality, but I'm sure everyone feels the same way about that.
Yeah, not many people realise this about you, Ryan, or they wouldn't know, but I saw you work in a gym for 5 hours one day, and I couldn't believe it because I couldn't do any of what you were doing. Are you still doing that? Like, I think you run about 5 miles a day, don't you?
Yeah, I don't do 5 hours in the gym. Yeah.
Well, you always do 3. You were there for 3.
Yeah, sometimes.
I'll tell you what I had to do. I had to look after the kids. I know.
Yeah.
And he's got a football team. There's 4 of them.
Any chance, Shane, you could shut up and let him answer?
The netball team.
Mate, they play football now too.
They do. Yeah, we have to be correct. Yeah.
But do you still do that workout, or not as much?
I'd work hard. Look, I think that nowadays most lads do, though. I don't think I'm alone in that. Everyone knows how important your fitness levels, how high they have to be. Any sort of thing that can make you a better rider is an advantage, and everyone's doing those sort of things now. So you have to.
Yep, absolutely right. I'd love to see Shane in the gym as well. Next time you go, make sure you take him, please. He'd be the bloke looking in the mirror. It has changed, hasn't it? I mean, but jockeys are getting a lot more longevity as a result now. I mean, they're you were seeing guys ride much later than probably they would have a generation ago. Ryan, we're going to switch focus. I want to talk about Mogul. How's he going?
Mogul looks very well. Everyone's happy with his work. The last that building up to this race, he looks good in the yard there. Just came back. Everyone's happy with him. He's got the ability to go close. He obviously won this race last year pretty well. I think it is a slightly deeper contest this year, but he hasn't hit the same height so far this year. But things have been against him. He started in Dubai, which wasn't a bad run. He then ran a good race in Longchamp, and then his next 2 runs were on very bad ground. He's been freshened up. He's been lightly raced. He's only had the 4 starts since he won the Vase. So we're hoping he will be much more competitive than he has been this year. I think pole drivers be the top rated, and he was good when he won his prep race, carrying a penalty. He obviously won Coronation where Mogul was behind. He's beaten Mogul, I think, 3 out of the 4 times they met. But he's got to come over and show that he can travel. And then you have the 2 Japanese horses, and Glory Vase won the race 2 years ago, so we know he's more than capable of putting up a performance and winning round Sha Tin. And obviously he handles the track and the ground. He's probably, I'd expect he'd be favourite. But I'm hoping Mogul will run well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the form from this year, and just outside of that, doesn't seem on paper like it was going as well. But you've mentioned the reasons for that. Was this a target race from a fairway out? Because I just noticed, he obviously competed, I think, back in August. So had they set their sights on this race some time ago?
Yeah, it was always the plan for him to come back here. He did go to America for the Breeders' Cup. He didn't get into it. The same as he did last year, but because he hadn't won in this year, it was a high entry and he couldn't get in. So, but I think everyone's happy with where he is, and I don't think it'd be too much of a disadvantage. So, yeah, hopefully he'll run well.
What about the European filly or mare in the race, the bottom one?
Oh, the Aga Khan filly.
Yeah.
Look, she's lightly raced. She has a bit to find on form. Alain de Roy de Prey, he's won this race in the past with a similar type of filly. They wouldn't she wouldn't knock your eye out to look at. Typical French filly, looks a little bit hairy, but she's strong, and I could see her running a big race. I mean, I realistically, probably the winner's going to come from those 4 horses we've talked about. I would have thought, and yeah, I wouldn't put you off her. Like, it'd be Alain's last runner, I believe, and she's got a decent level of form, and she could step forward.
Yeah, she's a very interesting runner. Those 3-year-olds fillies really profile well for this race, and as Ryan said, they know what it takes to come and win it. But I think, even though, would it be fair to say, Ryan, that whilst it's not laden with numbers, the Vase it's quite an intriguing race. I mean, there's some quality there from a handful of runners that you've mentioned.
Yeah. No, there's a few horses that would be good enough to win in a normal year. So yeah, it is a bit down on numbers as it was last year, but I'm sure it won't be easy to win.
And what about the Cup? Bolshoi Ballet, fascinating runner, of course, was favourite for a derby. He's gone over to America. He's won a Group 1 over there. He's just gone through the Breeders' Cup. Is he good enough to win the Cup?
I thought he would have been, if you're asking me this question back in May, I would have told you yes. Yeah, look, he has been disappointing since he won in Belmont. And he's going to have to step up a lot on what his level of form this year. Love's Only You, I think, is probably, although not rated much higher than the rest of the field, I think she is probably a level above them. I think she looks very well. She looks, to my eye, she looks better over here than she did in California. The other Japanese filly, obviously she beat Contrail. I think she won her first 6. And she's been beat lately and she's a bit disappointing. I think she pulled hard the last day. She wouldn't impress you to look at all, but obviously she's got a good level of form. And there's a few others in there. Dubai has been improving all year. He's got a slight query on the ground, maybe. He hasn't had a go on it, but
is that a fast track, Ryan?
Yeah, his best form has been in France on soft ground and in the English Champion the last time on deep ground, but he hasn't had a chance to go on quick ground, so he could well go on it. He looks magnificent. It's a competitive race. There's a couple of others in there. It's just they've all gone from my head, their names at the moment. But
it's interesting what you say about Love's Only You, though, Ryan. I mean, you had a good look at her, obviously, when you were over in the States, and it's. I don't know about you, but when you're that proven performer and you've gone somewhere, a bit like Mogul, when you've gone there and done it, it's a real feather in the cap, I think, going forward. I mean, she's obviously travelled there, but she's also been to Hong Kong and done the job. So it's something personally I always put a little bit more, no matter what their overseas form, if they're proven to travel and handle a track, it's a big tick.
Yeah, and she ran a good race in Dubai in the spring before she won in Hong Kong. So she's gone to America. And she's coming back to Hong Kong. Similar sort of turnaround. She's the one to beat. She's the rightful favourite.
Mother Earth's in the Hong Kong Mile up against the mighty Golden 60. Can you cause an upset there?
Mother Earth's better than what her rating would imply. She's had a busy year. She's won 2 Group 1s, including the Guineas. She ran a real good race in the mile race at Ascot on Champions Day, ground she wouldn't like. We wanted to take her back and right to finish off. They went very slow. In America, she had never had any hope of getting into it. But she's a good filly. I could see her running very well. I think everyone's really happy with her. But Golden 60 he's very special. He's very special. Probably as good a horse as anyone's had in Hong Kong, I would have thought, especially at the mile. So it's going to be hard to beat him. And obviously you've got a couple of Japanese horses in there that bring a good level of form. Daniel Kingley won the mile race in the spring and he beat Gran Allegra. Salios, he's not the worst, and obviously Indy Champ was ahead of Salios the last day, and he ran a good race in this race a couple of years ago. So I think Golden 60 is the rightful favourite, and I expect him to win. But there's a few others in there that, if anything goes wrong, they're going to be tough to beat also. So it's a hard race, and it looks a messy race as well on paper. Not a load of much speed in there, so who knows how it'll play out.
Yeah, great insight in regards to all the international runners. Let's get back to your conversation with Shane. The question our audience would love to know is, how did you guys first meet? Is he your highest maintenance friend, and what's he like to hang out with?
Well, he must be getting paid well for this podcast. I don't know. There's good money in YouTube and things now, is there?
Yeah. You clearly know him well.
No.
I'll tell you the first time I met Ryan, and he won't remember this, but this little baby-faced kid walked into Happy Valley, and it was International Night, I think, or one of those nights about 2006. And he rode 2 winners, and both his rides couldn't win. They had no hope. And he rode them unbelievable. And when that happens, I always go home and watch the videos and try and work out what he does to win on them to make myself better. And that was the night, was the first time I really met him. And I thought, this kid can really ride. And they were 2 outsiders at Happy Valley. And it was back then. Can you remember winning 2 races then, Ryan, or not? You probably can't. You've ridden a few since then.
I can't. I haven't rode enough since then, but I can't remember. Yeah, I have to do better next time I go there. Didn't ride any this week.
I met Ryan many moons ago too. It was about that time. I might have been. Did you travel over to Hong Kong one year, Ryan, before you were riding, and go over with a horse?
I tell you when I met you, Clint, and you won't remember this. Would have been in the bar at the Royal Park.
That's right. That was it. Yes.
And yeah, that would have been 01.
01.
I was 18.
Yeah.
I was working when they used to do the breeze up south. In around, it used to be just before, just after the international races.
Yeah, I remember it well. And you know what I remember about that meeting as well, listening to Ryan, and it's one thing that all the good riders have in common. I do remember it. Richo's laughing because he thinks I'd had too many, but
I'm just scared for Ryan if he went to the bar with you.
No, I was really impressed. Ryan, we were talking about some horses, I think, that were over for that time, and I thought, gee, this kid knows his form really well, and it's something that's very, common with all I know it sounds silly, but a lot of the top class riders, in terms of how they analyse the form and that type of thing, and it just impressed me at that stage. Little did I know where it'd end up. And look at me.
Hey, and Ryan, you survived a night out at a bar with Hutchi. That's something that you should be really proud of.
I was 18. I wasn't drinking.
No, he wasn't.
But you still don't drink.
I still don't drink, no.
Hey, Ryan, I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions which people would really be interested in. The one race in the world you go and you ride, whether it be an English Derby, a Kentucky Derby, a Melbourne Cup, a Japan Cup, Arc de Triomphe. What's the one race in one place you go to and ride in and you go, wow, this is amazing?
Do you know what, Shane? I couldn't pick a standout, really. They're all special in their own way. There is something about the Kentucky Derby, and I've never gone close to winning it, but there is something unique about American sports, the way they do it. But, when you're in Melbourne, that whole week, everyone's talking about the Cup. It takes over. Japan Cup, when you're actually at the start, it's a very unique experience. And also, like, if you're there, like, a Rue McKinnon Day, it's packed. It's usually packed in Japan, and the crowd obviously chanting again. It's like being in a football stadium sometimes. Hong Kong, I love Hong Kong racing. I think it's brilliant. But yeah, Epsom Derby Day, you got the like the fair in the middle, and people be having barbecues, and it's a very, very unique experience as well. Everywhere has its own little own going on.
Yeah. What about the one jockey? My jockey that I admired from a young age, who I rode against in America, was a kid then, who's not now, Gary Stevens. And I thought he was above and on another level. I think you're like that. I think you're a superstar, and I've always said you're the best rider in the world. Who's the one jockey that you think that you go, wow, this bloke can ride, or previous?
Do you know what, Shane? That there's in my opinion, there's so many, and it sounds like I'm sitting on the fence. I always think I always remember is any jockey can get the job done on a certain day, and you really can't go unless you have the horse. The first thing you need, and the most important thing, is the horse. There's so many great jockeys over the years. As a kid, I watched a lot of jump racing. So the first two that stood out to me was a man called Richard Dunwoody and Tony McCoy. They were great, but that's a different thing. That's brave, being brave and fearless and keeping still. being strong. As far as flat riders go, Frankie was always the most beautiful rider I've ever seen. I thought Mick Cannan was a complete package, done everything right. We've had Kieran, who had something about him for a stage. Kieran Fallon, there was this time where he could just lift horses. Johnny Murto, Richard Hughes was a beautiful rider. You look at America, a fellow who we lost, Garrett Gomez, he could make horses run. I mean, he really could. I mean, people can't make a horse run faster than what it can go. You can only slow a horse down. But I don't know, Gomez seemed to be able, he was a bit magic.
That's what Gary Stevens did one day with me in a race. He was outside me at the half mile and he was pushing and I was traveling and his horse kept going and won. And it was like $20. And I go, how did that win? What did he do on it? They get them to, those American jocks, we don't realise this in Australia, Ryan, how good some of them are because they ride differently.
There's and it's a different style of racing. It's momentum. It's on the dirt usually. And they're just built to ride some of them boys. The Ortiz brothers and Johnny Velasquez and Joel Rosario, Javier Castellano. They're fantastic. And look, in Australia, it's a different thing. But I think James McDonald, Kerry McAvoy, Hugh Bowman. And I remember growing up. He's obviously still going, but Damien Oliver.
Damien's a superstar.
You follow him in a race; he's top class. And Darren Beedman. Now here in Hong Kong, you have Joe and Zach, who are, they're both. You can't fault them. Everyone gets things wrong on horses from time to time and make mistakes, but there's many good jockeys, and some days you have a good day, and some days you have a bad day. It's the same with all sportsmen. At the end of the day, in our sport, it's a team sport. Every year they talk about the best footballers, who's better, Ronaldo or Messi, and it's fine that they are great, but they're not anything without the team behind them. And it comes down to the team, the horse, the trainer, the lads looking after it, the lad riding at work. You can't win without the other.
Very true.
Absolutely brilliant. Hey, Ryan, you've been so generous with your time, mate. Thank you so much. Good luck for Sunday. Good luck with that friendship with RS. We love him. It's good to see that you do too. Thanks, mate, and good luck.
Look, the thing with Shane is he can talk about racing. His insights, top class, top class.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to give me some? I better give him some advice, Richo.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan, you might not know this, but part of our podcast is all the jockeys that get on, you get a little life lesson or a little riding lesson from Shane Dye. So good luck here.
Last race, Ryan, you got a very good chance. So
okay.
Sylvester at gate 9, he'll go forward. He ran well the other day. The horse to beat, who I think is going to go to class 1, is Packing Victory. The horse drawn gate 8 will lead for sure with Wong on it, super winner. Just follow him across. There's a couple that'll go. Zach will go from gate 12 and try and clear you for sure. So you're going to be one back, one out, I'd say. Couple inside can dig up, but you probably can't beat the toppy, but you'll give him a chance. He's got a chance. He's not the worst. He'll start second favourite for sure.
Okay. Perfect. You see that? He's got it all sorted out. Unbelievable.
You lock it in, and I'll tell you what, you probably should win the race because it's called the Highland Real Handicap, and that would make a lot of sense, mate. So, hey, good luck in that race and the Group 1s. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, Ryan.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Ryan.
mate.
The one and only Ryan Moore. Absolutely.
That was great, wasn't it?
Wonderful insight there.
Yep.
And Shane, thanks for organising that. Mate, there is, and I've been saying it because I must admit, hand on heart, every time I've ever asked him to do anything, he's been so generous with his time, yet I hear others say that he's not the same. There is an athlete that is totally and utterly misunderstood by the greater public, I reckon.
Ryan is very misunderstood. I said to someone one day, we're very similar, Ryan and I, and they laughed and said, no, you're not. And I said, that's why we get on. We love talking racing. He knows everything about racing. We can get on the phone and talk for an hour about racing and horses and what they're doing and jockeys, and he loves it. And he's got a real sense of humour, which people don't understand. I've seen it. I know it. And a little bit sarcastic at times without people realizing it. But that's my thing when I was riding. I was out there. I put on an image, and that was me. Ryan puts on an image, but it's a different image to my image, and that's him. And you're not going to change that. That's how he's worked from day one. He doesn't want the limelight. He doesn't want press. But he was happy to come on here and chat with me because, we know each other, we're friends, and he'll open up a bit. And he just did. He's a wonderful person, great family man, even though he's traveling all the time, of course, to ride.
Yeah.
But no, he's a lovely bloke, and he's the most knowledgeable bloke I think I know in racing outside of Lloyd Williams.
On top of that, Shane, what about him? Is his son a little bit more flamboyant? He's doing the backflips off the horse.
Oh yeah, he can ride. I've seen him ride. He show jumps. He's small. He's not going to be. See, the Ryan family is really jumps riders. The brother and they're quite big, but Ryan isn't. And the son, he can ride. There's no risk about that. He's going to ride. But unfortunately, he looks like he wants to be a Frankie Dettori, or fortunately, whichever way Ryan wants to look at it, because there's nothing wrong with Frankie. He's great for racing, and he's a great jockey, as Ryan said. He's probably one of the most polished riders. We actually in Australia don't realise how good Frankie is. And it's unfortunate. It is really unfortunate because he's one of the greatest riders in the last 50 years. He will go down on most people. What he's done is unbelievable. And we knock him in Australia because of the Melbourne Cup, and it's just wrong. He's a superstar.
JT's going to get me in a headlock and put me in the sin bin if I don't keep things moving. So we've got to be very disciplined here. But we've touched on the 4 Group 1s, and I think our audience would love a quick tip. Did you hear that terminology, RS? A quick tip.
In the Group 1s?
4 Group 1s. And I'll start. Race 4 will be the Hong Kong Vars. Keep in mind, Glory Vars $2.20, Pile Driver $2.70, the French filly is $7, Stay Foolish at around 10, Mogul at 12.
Glory Vars for me. I think the favourite. I think Glory Vars wins it. I wouldn't take that pride. Actually, I think he's about the right price. I think he's the one for me.
I'll go Glory Vars, Pole Driver, and the English filly. I don't think it's a hard race. They stand out.
So you top 3 in the market. I'm going to have something each way on the French filly HKIR for at around $7. The Hong Kong Sprint, Pixie Knight $2.45. Ristentia $5.50, Lucky Patch $7, Skyfield $10. Hutch,
Lucky Patch is the wrong price. It should be a lot shorter. I'm going to take on the Japanese. That said, I think Ristentia is the one that could potentially entertain me, but needs to get out a little bit. But I think Lucky Patch, and the other one that could be a little play for me in that, if you're willing to forgive the first up run with improvement, Wellington is well over the odds. I think in the early markets might be forgotten about. Let's not forget he smashed them early in the season when he was right. So you're just banking.
It's about $15.
You're just banking that he's sort of backing into that first up run. So I think that market, I'm happy to sort of take that market on.
I think this is a very open race. Anything can win. There's value, as Clint said. Wellington's value. Hot King Prawn's not the worst from the gate if they're winning on the inside. I don't know that until the races begin. He trialled well the other day. His first up run wasn't bad. He hadn't raced for a long time. He's going to be fitter, but I'd probably go the Japanese. Pixie Knight into the bottom one, the filly, into, I would say, Naboo Attack. I thought his run the other day was very good. Naturally, Clint's right about Lucky Patch. He can win from the gate. He's got a very good chance. It would not surprise me what won this race.
Pixie Knight, major bet for me. Saver on Naboo Attack at around $12 there. We get to the Hong Kong Mile, $1.55, Golden 65. Danon Kingley, Indy Champ at 11, Waikuku at 11, $15 around Salius. I've already declared my betting strategy. I will have, out of a $100 bet, I'll have 60 on Danon Kingley and 40 on Salius to knock off the champ.
Yeah, well, I think I'm at Golden 60 around $1.75. I think you'll win it. I think you'll settle close in the run. I wouldn't want to take $1.50, but he's something special. There's no doubt. He's the one to beat.
I agree. I've got Golden 60 on top. I don't want to take the price, whereas last week I was happy in Australia to take $1.50. Danon Kingley second and Indy Champ third. I don't think it's a hard race.
And in the Hong Kong Cup, Dubai Honour 270, now favourite over Loves Only You at 280, Le Papal at 850, 14, Mac Swinney and K Ying Star.
Well, actually, look, I thought this was a race that I just thought there might be a bit of value, even with a horse like Hishi Iguazu, who Moreira's riding. But, gee, if what Ryan Moore said is right about Loves Only You, I'm going to have to readdress my market, and she'll be hard to beat. If she's come out of that run in the States well, she'd be very, very hard to beat, I would have thought.
Loves Only You. Like, she won in Hong Kong earlier. She won the Breeders' Cup. She's done nothing wrong. Got a good gate. You know, it's the one to beat. I've got it on top from La Pielle, and then, of course, Dubai Honour, who Ryan said wasn't too sure about the track. He hasn't really been on that fast track. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, though. He's by Pride of Dubai, an Aussie horse that we know well who likes firm ground.
With the market support, what it suggests to me is that they've worked the horse on the turn.
It goes even better.
And the feedback's good. Look, he's an improving horse. This is also what Ryan said, and maybe on top of the ground could be better. But I wouldn't be surprised in that race if the Japanese are 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, no, that's a fair call. And for mine, 1, 2, 3, and the value I think is Le Papal. I'd rather play around each way at 850 or, a little saver on the place, but keen to have a bet throughout. Push for time. Best bets for Sunday. We've gone through the 4 Group 1s. I put the Magic Millions cap on because as a subscriber to HutchiesHonkers.com, I'm going to win that much money that we're going to go and visit Shane in January up on the Goldie, and we're all going to get together and buy a horse. That's how much money we're going to win on the weekend, Hutch.
Well, if you're
no
going
bloody
up there,
pressure, mate.
I tell you what, if you are going up there, make sure you use the Group 1 Gold Mine website for the analytics too.
I will do that.
That will help you pick out the right pedigrees. That's what's
I just thought that you'd pick it out and I'd just take 10%.
No, that's not my forte.
Okay,
I think one of the better bets to Richo is Lucky With You. It's the second last race at Sha Tin. David Hayes trained. I'm glad to see Hazy back. He's sort of hit a little bit of form back again after a big sort of dip after that electric start that he had. Karras team. The only issue for me, gate 1, I'm hoping that Karras doesn't stay hard fence and when he comes into the straight, just drift off. But he's a nice young progressive horse. I think it's a very winnable race. For me, Prime Minister looks the main danger, but I think he can win. Lucky With You in race 9.
So that's race 9, number 13. Lucky With You, Shane. I always give a disclaimer that you haven't finalised all your form and you're very much on the day. But every time you throw one out, you just go, oh well, I might have my eye on that. They invariably run bloody well. So throw us one of those.
This isn't going to be odds. It'll be favourite. Good runner. It should win race 2. Ran very well first up. I liked him first up. He was big odds, so you're not going to get that again.
David Hall, Zach Pert.
Yes, it's trialled since then, trialled extremely well. He's going to race closer. He goes to 1,400 for the first time, and he looks like that'll help him. Zach's on him, race 2. It should be winning, but he's going to be no odds.
Yeah, he'll be. I actually think he's a great chance, like you said, Shane. But when I did the race, I think Ryan can nearly win that on Super Mission. He's been on my radar, and it's a great run first up. Then he went to the dirt.
The trouble with Super Mission is he could get a soft lead here if he jumps. The problem with him this season, Clint, is in his 2 starts, he's missed the start and he's got back. So he's got to get him out of the gates. That's the thing. If he jumps well and he's on pace, he can definitely win. There's no risk. His form last season was good, but he's just got to get him out of the gates because the last 2 starts, he hasn't jumped well.
Back the Cornella, Richo. They're the 2.
Hey,
the toppy in the race has a chance also, Richo. Marvel, Dragon, it's not going bad. If you're taking Quinellas, definitely throw it in.
And an Aussie interest, Senor Toba, runs his second Hong Kong start in the first.
Yeah, that race typically is the last race on the card, and it's a lot of the horses that are potentially headed towards the Derby would run in that, but the lack of numbers meant it's in the first race. Look, I'll have Master of the Light marked pretty short favourite in this. He'll take an awful lot of beating, but it's an interesting race for that. I think it's still too short for Senor Toba, but he might be heading in the right direction, but Master of the Light's a great chance.
It's such a special meeting. It's when the whole of the racing world zero in on Sha Tin on Sunday for incredible Group 1, some of the best jockeys from around the world, some of the best horses from around the world up against Hong Kong's best, and jump on HutchiesHonkers.com to get a full analysis. RS, an absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for organising Ryan Moore in particular. That was a fascinating chat.
No worries. Good luck, everyone. Enjoy the races. It's a great day and hope you back many a winner.
I've run out of hats. Hutch, well played.
I'm sure you got more in the bag, mate. Don't worry. We'll bring out a new set for our next podcast next week.
Good on you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We look forward to doing it again soon.